So at 18 years old, you already had your first steel cage match as well.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like I feel like some people like go like their entire career and maybe never have a steel cage match, but at 18 you had a steel cage match.
Yes, I did. And let's just say that still is unforgiving. Like my back is still like not okay from it.
Hey guys, welcome back to another interview here on Toned In Entertainment. Today, we've got a very special guest because Brittnie Brooks is in the house. How are you doing, Brittnie?
Yes, I'm doing so good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, we are filming this about 4 days, 3 days after WrestleMania, and you were out in California
Ooh,
doing
yes, I
doing a bunch of
was.
stuff. I saw WrestleCon. Was that your first convention you were ever at? Like working?
Yes. So I don't know, cause like I feel like I'm still a nobody in wrestling and just like life in general. So like the fact that I was able to get WrestleCon meant so much to me. And just like, yeah, that was my first ever convention, my first ever like fan like meeting moment. Like I meet fans at shows and stuff, but like that was my first ever like these people are from all around the world and they're here and they're like coming to see me and I'm like, how do you even know who I am? I don't even I feel like nobody knows who I am. But yes, it was literally the most fun and just meeting all of the other wrestlers and getting to pick their brains, that was like the best part of my entire trip and it was just the most fun.
Yeah. Have you ever been like to conventions like that as a fan before?
I did go to WrestleMania or no. I went to Royal Rumble Access when it was in Arizona in 2019, and that was like back when I was like, I think I was just starting to train for wrestling, but I was still like super into like being a fan and stuff. So like I went to one, and that was really cool. But I remember those lines were forever. Which I thought WrestleCon was really cool because there's just so many people there that it didn't seem like anybody was waiting in line for too long, which I thought was like really cool.
That's what I like about the wrestling conventions. I mean, when WWE, I mean, you're gonna have those like those 45-minute lines, those specific lines. But I've been to like WrestleCade and River City WrestleCon, and that's why I love that there's so many wrestlers and there's so many fans, but it never feels like you're wasting your entire day for like two or three people.
Yeah. And it was super cool because there was also just people that I've seen from like online. And I was like, I know you like Ashley DM Boise. I've literally followed her for like a year now. And I was like, what? I was like, I know you from Instagram. She was like, I think I know you too. And so we were just like talking and we are like, yep, we like have been following each other for the longest time. And I'm like, dude, I totally like was so excited to like meet all these like independent wrestlers but also like signed wrestlers that are like willing to give me so much feedback and so much like just knowledge and stuff about like how to get better. So that was really fun.
Was there a signed wrestler or a big time wrestler that gave you maybe the most important piece of advice while you were out there?
Um, Definitely Chris Bay is always really, really nice and amazing and incredible. Also Enzo, so real one. He gave me a lot of good advice because I was talking to Ashley Doom Boise, and then he was right next to her, and we were just talking or whatever, and then he was hearing our conversation, and he was like, "You're only 18 years old," and I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "No way," and you're like already doing so much. And so like he was just giving me a lot of feedback of like or feedback and like advice about how to just like do everything you can to just get out there and like get in front of as many people as possible because he's like you like starting so young, you're at such an advantage. So that was like really cool to hear from him because I'm like, dude, like I used to have my little cup of haters shirt and like I was trying to find the picture to show him because I was obsessed with Enzo when he was with WWE. So that was like really, really cool.
So at 18 years old, you already had your first steel cage match as well.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like I feel like some people like go like their entire career, maybe never have a steel cage match, but at 18, you had a steel cage match.
Yes, I did. And let's just say that still is unforgiving. Like my back is still like not okay from it. And that was like also I got thrown into a cage after sitting in a car because we drove to El Paso the night before. and I wrestled, and then I drove back and got home at like 8 in the morning, slept for like 2 hours, went to the gym, and then went to that show for the steel cage. So like my back was so tired of like sitting in a car, and then I just got like thrown into a cage, hit with a kendo stick a ton of times, the usual weekend activities.
I mean, how would you rather spend your Saturday night than being hit with a kendo stick and thrown into a
It
steel
was
cage?
it was actually so fun because I'm so scared of like those crazy matches. Like I don't know if I definitely don't think I'm ready for a hardcore match. I don't really want to do one of those, but I've always been really scared of like getting hit with chairs and stuff, and we've done it in practice and like kendo sticks and stuff, but I've never like actually had a weapons match where somebody's swinging at me full throttle like wants to kill me. So that was definitely a scary experience, but now that I feel like I felt what it feels like, I won't be as scared like the next time somebody's like, "Oh, we're going to do a weapons match." So it made me a little bit more confident.
Okay, because I feel like kendo stick and steel cage to me would be like that's hardcore. But then you think hardcore, and now you're seeing the thumbtacks and the barbed wire and stuff like that. That's stuff you want to kind of stay away from, though.
No, yeah, I am good with having not bled all over the place. I'm chilling without staples in my head and like getting hit with light shafts, and like I've seen the stick things that they put in there. I'm like, y'all can kill that. I'm good. I'll have my steel cage matches, and that's about it.
I think you're tougher than I am, already just for going into that. So you've already got a leg up on a lot of people. I don't think you have to push it to another level because you've got a lot of great in-ring skill that, I feel like sometimes with the hardcore matches, some people try to compensate for maybe what they don't have in the ring for their in-skill ring, but you do have a lot of great in-skill ring that I think is going to be your elevation status to bigger and better things. So.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Now, I want to speak because I don't really talk about wrestlers' gear too often, but I think I definitely should give like a shout out to La Lucha Lady that's done some gear for you because she's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I know she is super busy. So, can you just tell me a bit about the process of like maybe like the concept to like when you got the finished product from her?
So I just wanted to say that she is the best gear worker or gear maker I've ever worked with in my life. She was so quick. I came in with like, I was like, okay, I want pink, sparkly, cool moment, right? And so she sent me like a ton of designs. And I actually picked off Tessa Blanchard because I really like how Tessa Blanchard had her like around the neck back open because I've been trying to work out my back a lot to get it like at least somewhat looking good. So I was like, okay, now we got to show off the back gains. So like, what if I do like a no back moment, swimsuit type moment? So that was like the inspiration for the top was definitely Tessa Blanchard. And so like I sent her a lot of like pictures of like what I wanted, but I also didn't have like a drawing at all. So she was able to come up with a drawing and gave me a ton of options for fabric. And I was like, I want rhinestones and glitter and sparkles and just pink brightness. And so like that was definitely the like inspiration for it. And she was just so quick. Like there's been people where I've waited months and months and months for gear, and I think the entire process of me like from the moment I first messaged her to the moment I like received the gear and tried it on in my house was like maybe 3 weeks, and I was shocked
That's
with how fast
insane,
it was.
right?
Yeah, she is incredible and she's always working. Like she's like, "Oh yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of yours today, but I have like 3 other people to do." And I was like, "Girl, I can't believe you do so much at once." Like she's just so good and so sweet, and she's very quick in like responding to DMs and very quick in sending like updates on like how the gear is looking. But I'm really happy for it, and I'm really looking forward to getting more done soon. But yeah, and then the fishnets, the rhinestone fishnets, I literally found on Amazon, and I thought that they were so cool. And I put them with my other gear that I originally had. But now I feel like those rhinestone fishnets looks so good with like the gear that I have right now. And I'm just so happy that I found those on Amazon, and they were really cheap. So I'm like, I can order like a ton of them. That way, if they rip, I can just get the new ones.
That's what's great about Amazon. You can just right, they rip. 2 days later, you got all brand new ones at affordable prices as well. But I definitely wanted to give a shout out because the gear is awesome. And I know she does awesome gear as well. And she's super busy. So I definitely wanted to get a little plug in for her and just get your feedback on her gear as well. So um, now we talked a couple weeks ago when we first set up this interview. And of course, we're here now. So you're very, very busy. So you fit me into your very busy schedule of everything that's going on, which is awesome. So how do you keep up the energy level of just everything that you're doing right now?
I mean, I could do a shameless plug for Celsius, which I am an ambassador for. Celsius be fueling me. Period. Yes, and that's such a
Celsius?
good flavor. Or is it? Oh, that's the orange one. That one's so
This is
good.
you're an ambassador. I had no idea that you're an ambassador for this.
Oh, but no, I'm definitely fueled by Celsius, but also just my phone calendar. Um, I there was actually an interview I did this morning that I completely forgot about, and they were messaging me, and I was like, "Oh, isn't this the one that's like at 5 p.m.?" And they're like, "No, we set it up for." And I was like, "I put too many things on one day," which happens a lot. I just keep my phone calendar because I'm always doing something. Like I still have high school. I go to college while in high school. I have a job where I'm trying to work like 15 to 20 hours a week, but it does get difficult. I'm only working like Tuesdays, Thursdays kind of, and then I still go to wrestling training every single Monday, Wednesday, and then my Friday, Saturday and Sunday are kind of just like shows, traveling to shows. If I don't end up so for example, this Friday, I'm probably going to end up working cuz I'm not traveling to his show until like Sunday morning or I mean Saturday morning. So I'll probably work a little just to get some more money cuz like my schedule is just if I'm never just chilling. Like today I've been kind of chilling for a couple hours cuz I was like I don't want to end up doing something, be in the middle of something and then have like the interview cuz I like wanted to be prepared cuz it gets wild. My schedule is wild.
So when you do have a little bit of free time, how does Brittnie Brooks chill out?
Oh, I watch wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So I will watch move sets. I'll watch I've been really good about keeping it. I mean, because I was actually having this conversation earlier about my coach says he was really getting on me because when I was injured, I felt like I was just heartbroken. Like I was really upset and I wasn't really watching wrestling. And he was like, if you want this for the rest of your life, why are you not studying it? Why aren't you eat, sleep, breathing wrestling? And that really struck me. So now literally every second I get, I go onto social media to try to promote something or I'm watching wrestling, watching move sets. Like I'm keeping up. Like I've been really good about keeping up with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage, Dark Elevation. There's a lot of shows right now.
That's more than a
I'll
full-time
occasionally
job. Yes.
it's a lot. So I just try to keep up. I get notifications on my phones. I got Twitter, which I don't understand how to use Twitter, but I feel like I'm keeping way more updated now that I have it. Because I do want to know what's going on, especially for these companies that I want to work for in the future. And I've been watching a lot of independent wrestling. Like the second a match gets announced, I watch the people that I'm going against to make sure I understand what they're gonna do and how to combat that. So yeah, for sure. I mean, when I chill, I mean, I haven't watched a Netflix show in a month. Or no, it's been months. I think the last one I watched was Cobra Kai when the new season came out. And that was when I was injured too. So it was a long time ago. I haven't I just watch wrestling.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, you're chilling, but at the same time, you're soaking in the knowledge and preparing yourself for the future. I love that. Now, speaking of AEW Dark, you have been on an episode of AEW Dark where you tagged with somebody who is quite a rival of yours on the independent scene as well, too, right? With anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody that you've gone up
I was like,
against.
girl, I know, anime. She likes to attack me and then she ran the one time that we're tagging together, she ran away. I was like, "Girl, what are you doing?" I was upset with her, but it is what it is. I'm hopefully going to get another opportunity to punch her face in, especially after running off on me because that made me lose the match. But yeah, I was pretty upset on that.
Was there anything that you learned from your AEW Dark experience?
Oh my God, I learned so much. Like, I was talking to a couple of the wrestlers in the back because everyone was like very busy. And I'm like, I totally understand. They have like TV times to make and all these things to do. So it's like very serious. And I was like super scared that I didn't want to like go up to someone when they were like and doing something important. But I did get to talk to a few of the wrestlers. And like honestly, I learned just so much about like getting out there, wrestling everywhere you can, making sure that your presentation is like on point because that a lot of them were telling me like that's how they got eyes on them was their presentation. And that was I was upset because like I had ordered gear for the AEW Dark and I didn't get it in time. And I actually still haven't gotten it. But that's why I was like, okay, let me find somebody else. And that's when I ended up hitting La Lucha Lady up like I think a couple weeks after that. I was like, okay, I'm getting new gear, I'm getting new merch, I'm getting everything to build my brand. I got business cards. Heck, I got so many things now. I'm like presentation is key. So I learned a lot about that, but also about like working towards the hard cam because a lot of the times I kind of just go in there and I'm like nervous and I'm trying to like, I'm trying to win. So I'm not really focused on like the camera angles and stuff. And I've already noticed I'm getting a lot better photos like from back from matches and like a lot better footage back from matches because I'm working more towards the hard cam and making sure that everything I do can be seen.
What would you say is maybe one of the biggest lessons, just maybe personally, you've learned in your wrestling career? Like advice, or not advice, but like maybe just something that you've learned about yourself that you apply in your everyday life, maybe?
I've actually learned so much about myself, and I owe that a lot to my coach, Lawrence Tyler. He is literally incredible, and he has made me like look at myself and like my personality. He has like made me philosophically look at like who I am as a person in everyday life, and then who I am when I step into that ring. And it's just like insane. I feel like I've developed so much because I did start when I was like 14, 15 years old. And I mean, I still am trying to figure out who I am as a person because I've always just loved things. And I'm like, because like whenever somebody, when I was a kid, they would be like, tell me about yourself. I'm like, I love John Cena. I love the Bella Twins. Like wrestling was my life. But like I never knew who I was as a person. So now having that like fandom of wrestling turn into like becoming a wrestler and becoming like a fan of myself. I want to build myself to be somebody that other little girls and little boys look up to. So like just making that flip in these past few years has been like insane and I've learned just so much about like who I am and like who I want to be. But yeah, that was probably just I mean every single week I get the most incredible advice from my coach. So just everything that he always tells me. And then there's just been so many wrestlers that have been just so nice and like telling me about just how to do this because I am still so new and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of faking it till I make it. But yeah, just everybody has been so nice and I just really appreciate that. And I just hope that one day when I'm at a higher level, I can be that person for them too. So
Well, I was gonna say I've already seen pictures of you like with younger girls, that have come up to you that want to meet you or take pictures or get autographs. Like, how does that feel? I mean, you've also got merchandise and t-shirts when like little girls are coming up and buying your shirts or getting pictures and autographs. I mean, what does that mean to you?
it literally means the whole world to me because I remember, I will never forget the feeling of like when I met the Bella Twins because they were like my favorite. They were like my biggest inspirations and they still are. I remember standing in line at Desert Ridge Marketplace outside. It was like a mall and they opened up the Birdie Bee pop-up shop. It was like 2017. And I was just like, I remember the feeling of like hugging them and like that meant the entire world to me. And so whenever I see these little girls and the fact that they're looking at me the way that I look at the Bella twins, that is like it literally gives me chills because it's like how am I so lucky to be able to make an impact on people like this? And that's just like what I want and that's what I want for Brooks and I want her to be somebody that people can look up to and so yeah, it's the most incredible feeling. Like whenever I see a little girl in my shirt, I just get so happy. Or like even my friends have been so supportive. They all buy my merch like the second I get shirts. They're like, "Oh my God, you got merch." Like they'll slide up because they all follow my wrestling Instagram. And they're like, "Oh my God, like I want one." And that just means a lot to me too, because then I go and like bring them shirts and then they come to my shows and wear them and just help, because it helps whenever you see like a shirt on somebody. Like I was just recently at Raw when it was in Arizona like last weekend. And I saw somebody wearing a Cody Rhodes shirt and I was like, I kind of like that shirt. I kind of want to get it. And that's literally what sold me on buying it, because I was like, okay, well, I saw somebody else wearing the shirt. So I feel like that's really helpful too. Like when my friends show up to my shows wearing my shirts, that like means the world to me, because it's helping other people see like, oh, that's a Brittnie Brooks shirt. She must have merch. Let's go check her out. So that means a lot.
Now you were in the stands at this WrestleMania.
Yes, I
Okay.
was.
Like this is your dream. This is your passion. When you were sitting in the stands watching the spectacle that is WrestleMania, because there's nothing like it on this planet as far as like WrestleMania, as far as wrestling goes. Like, what was going through your mind while you were sitting in those stands watching these incredible performers?
I thought that it was like the best thing in the world. And I was with Cam Stewart. He's a wrestler in Florida. He's insanely amazing. I think he has insane star power and he's gonna get signed in no time. But I was talking to him and I was like, dude, like imagine wrestling in front of all these people. That's all I could think about the entire time. And I'm like, I was so studying the way that they were interacting with the crowd, the way that they were explaining and telling these stories. Like that was all I can think about, is just like the next time I'm at a WrestleMania, I'm gonna be backstage, or the next time I'm at WrestleMania, I'm gonna be like booked, fully booked on the weekend. Like that's what I want. And so that was just like insane. And I was sitting up really high. And a lot of people would be like, oh, there's a nosebleeds. Like those tickets are no good. But honestly, it was the best. It honestly was better to me than sitting on the floor, because sitting in the nosebleeds, not only did I only have to pay like $20, but I got to read the crowd and watch them. And I took a lot of like really good just like pictures of the crowd, because I can like look back at those pictures and be like, this is what I want. This is what I'm working towards. Like wrestling at a WrestleMania is like my dream. And now being at a WrestleMania, I'm more motivated than ever. Just being at the weekend like of independent wrestling, like I'm now more motivated than ever to just get booked on shows and like get my name out there, and then hopefully one day wrestle on WrestleMania. So
It's funny that you said Cameron Stewart, because I saw you in a picture with him, and about 2 months ago, I had him on the show at he was down here wrestling in Miami, and we have been just like liking each other's pictures or profiles or whatever. I didn't even know he was going to be at the show because he wasn't booked on the card. Then we saw each other, and I was like, dude, I was like, we're here. Let's make this interview happen. And he's one of the nicest guys. He's got great stuff going, like with the only cams and everything that he's doing. But like when I saw you guys together, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like you two have like the same type of vibe, the same type of personality. I can see you guys definitely hanging out and being good friends.
yeah, so that was the first time I met him. I have been following him forever because Emily J, who's also over, and they're always together. I knew her from Instagram because we had like fan pages on Instagram, and I followed her. I've literally followed her since before we both started wrestling. And then to see her wrestle, and then that's how I like figured out about Cam. And then I met Cam this weekend at a QT Marshall seminar, and like I was like, oh my God, it's Cam. Like we looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, it's you. Like we didn't know each other was gonna be there. So that was really cool. And just to watch him, I was like, dang, this dude is like talented. Like his character is just insanely amazing. And I'm like, dude, it's gonna be no time. And then I know that he was doing some extra work for NXT, which I hope that everyone saw, because that was really cool. And I was like, bro, you're just killing it. But yeah, it was super cool to finally meet him, because I was like, bro, your energy is just so good.
Yeah, he actually wrestled QT Marshall the night that I interviewed him down here in Miami at a CCW Coastal Championship Wrestling show. So I'm not sure if that was the same seminar that you went to. I know QT was doing a couple seminars, I think, maybe out there, but was that the seminar that you went to?
It was one at CCW, but it was WrestleMania weekend, so it was like this past weekend.
Right, correct.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that was, yeah, and he was there, and I was like, oh my God, because he said that he had done some of that was my first time meeting QT Marshall, and he was amazing. And but yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I've met him before. And I was like, really? Like how? And he's like, oh yeah, like I wrestled him once. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I
bro,
was there.
for
I saw it.
real?
He did. He wasn't lying to you. I was at that. I was at that show. Now, speaking of fun
Nice.
times and good times, right behind you, you have a little Minnie Mouse. Uh, was it like
Yes, I
barrettes
do.
or headbands or whatever?
Hitman.
Okay, so I know
Yes.
on your Instagram it says that your favorite place is Disneyland. What's your
Oh
favorite part
yes.
about Disneyland? Why is it your favorite place?
I love we actually have this conversation with my dad a lot because like on his days off from work, he's like, I like going to places that where people want to be. He's like, because all the time when I'm at work, he's like, people, because he sells appliances, so he's like, people don't like want to come see me when I'm at work because I'm selling appliances and like that means something broke down. But he's like, on my days off, I want to do things where people want to go. He likes going out to eat, he likes going to movies, he likes going to the shooting range. So those are like all his hobbies. He loves the gym too. And I'm like, I so relate to that. Whenever I'm at Disneyland, I feel like people genuinely want to be there. And I think that's just like the energy I love. That's also why I love going. And I think that's why I fell in love with wrestling because people are always there because they want to be there. I feel like such a little kid getting to like go to Disneyland and ride these just super fun rides on movies and shows that I just grew up loving. I love the merchandise that Disneyland has. I love the food. I love the rides, just the whole vibe. Like the feeling of walking down Main Street and looking at the castle is the best feeling ever. It's probably like second to wrestling because like wrestling is my favorite place on earth. It's my happiest place on earth, but Disneyland is definitely like a vacation, a really fun like whenever I'm at Disneyland, like it's just so much fun. Like this past weekend, we were actually staying in Anaheim because I didn't know that LA was an hour away from Anaheim because I was like, "Oh, I didn't 20 miles, didn't know it was gonna be an hour." Um, so
In LA,
we were
you're lucky
staying
it was only an hour. Yes.
it was horrible. But we were staying in Anaheim, so we went to downtown Disney, and I was like, "Dang, I really wish I would have gotten Disneyland tickets. I wish we would have planned like an extra day to go to Disneyland because like just being at downtown Disney was just so much fun." But yeah, I just love everything about Disneyland, and I don't think I'll ever not love it. Like I'll be like a 60-year-old grandma, like we're at Disneyland.
Can I ask you what your favorite ride is at Disneyland?
Ooh, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. That's my favorite one
Okay.
at California Adventure. Disneyland is definitely Space Mountain, but
Okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy is like overarching my favorite. It's just so fun. I love it.
Nice, because I've only been to Disney World. I've never been to Disneyland. So I know they don't have Guardians of the Galaxy down here in Orlando, in Florida. So yeah, that's definitely one that seems like it'd be super cool to go on.
The vibe is just so fun, like, the songs that they play, and it depends on, like, what elevator you get into because it's Tower of Terror, so, like, it's basically the same ride, but, like, now it has, like, more of a storyline and, like, the music is just so fun. You're, like, dropping from these extreme heights, and they're just playing, like, some awesome rock song or, like, some awesome, like, 50s, 60s song. I'm like, "This is the best vibe." I just love
Oh,
vibes.
okay. So it's just the Tower of Terror now. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. Because I've been on Tower of
Yeah.
Terror in Orlando. Oh, okay. So they just reinvented the wheel a little bit.
But what's different is I noticed the Tower of Terror, like, moves through a room before it starts, like, dropping you, right?
God,
But,
it's been so
like,
long.
Guardians of
Yeah.
the Galaxy, you just stay in and just like, it just it drives you up and then like, there's no, like, tour. Like, I know that, Tower of Terror, like, takes you through a room kinda slow, and then you stop, and then you start doing the drops and everything, but that's just you're sitting in the elevator going straight up and down. It's so fun, though. I just love it.
Okay. Now, you said that you started at 14 or 15. So when you told your parents that this was the journey that you wanted to do, what were their first reactions?
Oh goodness. So they both knew how much I loved wrestling. I would buy tickets every single show that came to Arizona and like I had didn't even know that independent wrestling was a thing. I thought wrestling was WWE. So I thought that I would have to go. I mean, when I googled like how to become a pro wrestler, the WWE headquarters would always come up and I was like I really want to go to Connecticut. My parents are like, "Why do you want to go to Connecticut?" because the WWE headquarters is there, mom. And one day Arizona Wrestling Federation followed me, or I don't know if they even followed me. I don't even know how I found it. But I saw them and I was like, okay, what is this? And so I started looking, and we were actually at dinner at like Westgate, which is like an entertainment district in Arizona. And we were eating, and I was like, this place is so cool. Like, we gotta go check it out. And my mom's like, I don't want you to do that. Because a lot of the times in my life, I wanted to be a cheerleader. Like, I always wanted to be a wrestler, but like even when I was little, I had the mindset like, what can I do that'll help me be a better wrestler? So like I wanted to do cheerleading, I wanted to do gymnastics, and I tried out for those things, and like we went to little gyms and stuff, but they were like really expensive, and I also feel like I wasn't getting like the one-on-one that I needed. So my mom would never really let me go back because she was like, I don't really want you there. So like I thought the same thing was gonna happen with wrestling, but I was gonna fight her till I died on it. So we went to the first practice, and just being inside of the ring, like it was so funny because like literally correlate the feeling of like my first day of practice being so nervous being inside that ring to the day that I was at AEW. Like I felt those nerves and like that like shakiness. The first time I was a little girl stepping into that ring, which is so funny that it was like the same feeling. Because now I'm like wrestling on shows and like going to practice all the time. Like I used to get so nervous before practice. But so we started in a kids class, and then the kids class kind of fizzled out. We went over to the adult class, and then I had my first match before COVID happened. It was like in January. COVID happened in like end of February. So like it was like a student showcase show. So that was kind of that, and it was just like my parents were concerned when my mom had to sign a waiver. She was like, what exactly are we doing here?
Like, don't
And I
read the
was like
fine print. It's
fizzling.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, it was funny. And now they're kind of, I mean, they always want me to be safe. Like when I told them, because my mom took me to practice up until like I turned 16 and could drive myself. And then the very first practice, the first practice that I didn't, or no, because I think she was still driving me past, because it's a far drive. It's about like 30 minutes, and it's like in not the best part of town. So she didn't want me driving. So it was until like I was like 17 years old that she was still taking me. The first practice I drove myself is when I tore my ACL. So I was like, of course. So when I told them that I had torn my ACL, they were just like really upset. Like they thought that it was like a career-ending injury, and I was like, I'll be fine, guys. But now they just really want me to like be careful in everything that I'm doing and everything. But it means a lot to me because a lot of the times, like my parents will be at the shows in Arizona, especially. But like my mom went with me to LA this weekend for Mania weekend. But like especially, it means a lot because she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like I just got hit in the face a little bit, but like that means a lot to me because then it means that I'm doing well. So
Now, you said you get nervous. Is there anything that you do to help calm your nerves before you start wrestling?
I have like a little bit of a routine. I'll be drinking my Celsius. I do like some bicep curls, make sure I get a nice pump, but I kind of just like keep thinking to myself like this is what you want for the rest of your life. Like this is a big stage, but like nothing is going to compare to like when you get to WWE like or AEW or WWE. Like how are you going to calm yourself there? So like ground yourself like and remember that you're comfortable doing this. You do this every single week, you can do it. I mean, I will always get nervous before matches unless I will always get nervous before matches whether there's 5 people out there or 250 people out there. Like it's just because I care so much, and my coach always tells me the moment that the nerves go away is the moment you shouldn't be wrestling anymore because it means you don't care. And so like that is something that I always think about too. Like I'm feeling nervous for a reason. Like it's because I want to do well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because like even doing these interviews, I've been doing them now for like 3 or 4 years now. And it's like I remember the first time I went into like doing interviews and I was like shaking, like rattling, and it was like I was super nervous. And my wife would be like, maybe you need to start taking a shot before you go in and do these interviews and just calm your nerves a little bit. Now I'm much calmer, but even still, before I turn on an interview, it's still like, okay, how's it gonna go? What's it gonna go? How's the interaction gonna go? So I feel like if you never get nervous at anything that you do that's important to you, isn't important to you anymore. And I think that's a great sign that like you should always have those little jitters, those little goosebumps, those little butterflies going into anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just like being out there with the eyes on me, like I'm like, I don't want to mess up anything. I'm like, and so that always gets to me. This past weekend, I was at a show in California for Lucha Wrestling Parasu. I don't know how to say it.
That's
I haven't
okay.
thought of but it was a lucha show, and at the very beginning, they had us come out and they had us honor a legend. And I was like, when I walked out of the curtain, I was like, because I didn't even know we were doing that, like going out to honor the people, honor that guy. And when I got out there, I was like, something's wrong. Like I don't feel nervous. I feel like I'm not supposed to be out here right now. Cause I walked through the curtain, and for the first time in my life is because I wasn't nervous, because obviously I wasn't about to have a match. Like I was just going out there to like do that honoring thing, and I was like, okay, something feels weird. I did not like the feeling of it. So that's how I know that like whenever I walk out that curtain, it's uncomfortable, but it's comfortable. The feeling of uncomfort is actually comfortable because if I don't feel super nervous, I'm like, okay, something is wrong. Like something is really wrong. And then like an hour later when we did go out there, I was so nervous. But like but like just walking out there and being like, I was like, it feels weird. Like I felt like I was like, what's wrong with me? Like why am I not feeling nervous being out here right now? But yeah.
Is there because I've never walked through the curtain myself. So I always wonder, like, I meet so many people and like, a lot of people deal with anxiety or stress or whatever, and you talk to them before the show, but then you see them at the show and they're like this ferocious beast. Like, is there like a switch or something that is makes you very different from the person you are before you walk through the curtain to the person that people see beating the crap out of somebody in the ring?
I honestly think there is, because we always talk about this in practice. Like, I bring out my coach again because he's just helped me so much.
Give
And
them a
then
lot big
also,
shout outs. It's all good. It's all good.
also my buddy's dad, his name's Bob. We always talk about how like we like at practice, I don't feel like I'm Brittnie Brooks, but at shows, I feel like I am. And he was like, I don't know what that switch is, but like you need to turn it on when you're in your practice matches and learning and like trying in practice, because it definitely is a different feeling when you're in the gear, you're about to walk out the curtain. You can hear the people, you've seen the fans, it's like do or die. And like that vibe, I keep talking about vibes because I'm such a vibey person. But that vibe is different at practice, and that's been something that I've been trying to bottle. Like I'm trying to bottle up the feeling of when I'm about to go out there. That way I can get better in practice, because I know that better practices lead to better showcases. So that's like one of the things that I think there's definitely like a switch that just turns on, but like it's not something I can really control. Cause like if I could, then I probably would turn that switch on the moment I walk through the door at practice. But yeah.
Now, speaking of good vibes, you are a fan favorite when you're out there, and a lot of people do chant, Brittany, Brittany, go Brittany. Like, what does that mean to you? Do you like? You're in there, you're with an opponent, you're banging around. Can you hear those chants from the fans? And if you do, like, what does it do to maybe your aurora when you're inside the squared circle?
It helps me so much because it means that people are watching and people are caring, because you can go out there and just have everybody be silent. And I think that's honestly why I gravitate towards wrestling more, because the fans are such a part of what we do. Like I used to do jujitsu and I was like looking into doing MMA actually. And I was just like, okay, but something about wrestling is just so much cooler. And and I think it's genuinely the fans and their ability to just insert themselves and just make the show so much better by being there. Like, and I think that's another thing too why in practice I feel like I'm not, doing as well as I do at shows, because when I'm at practice there isn't fans there that are able to like chant me on and like help me in that aspect. So yeah, it's just the best feeling, and like it just means the world to me, because my first ever show nobody knew who I was, and like I feel like until recently, like until like I just returned, like Nobody knows who I am, and especially when I go to these shows out of state, because I have been traveling now because I'm 18, so I can actually, like, wrestle shows, which feels so nice, but, like, I'm going into places where they've never seen me before, so just the ability to, like, get one person to start chanting my name is, like, it means the world to me because they don't know who I am, like, I'm just a nobody, and I'm facing their person that they watch every week, so it's like, you know.
Now, being on AEW Dark, I mean, I'm guessing that like people then probably start looking you up because it is a big platform. But when they people see you on AEW Dark, it's a good platform maybe for people to, you know, get to know you, like learn who you are. But really, I think where people are going to learn who you are right now is by coming out to the local shows because that's where they get to see the real Brittnie Brooks in action. So how important is it for people that may have recently just discovered you who are going to be at a show near you come out and watch you, and what can they expect from you in the ring?
That means the world to me too because there was actually a couple people because I was on AEW Dark and I was in Arizona, so there's been like at least 5 people that were like, I didn't even know who you were, and they came to AWF shows and they were like, I didn't even know who you were until you were on AEW, but like, and I was like, that's crazy to me that like, and I keep like looking at the video and it just keeps getting more views, and I'm like, guys, follow me. So then like you can stay tuned on my journey. But no, like I think you should definitely expect to just watch such a fun match. Like whenever I go out there, I do this because I love it and I have fun. And I know I talk about getting stressed, but I feel like the moment I step out there, I vibe and I just have the most fun. And like um it's just I think you're gonna be missing out if you're not watching me, you know? So you better stay tuned to like all my social media so you know where I'm wrestling because I am getting up and down the West Coast now and like traveling out where I'm talking to New York, which would be so dope. And I definitely want to do CCW in Florida very
You
soon.
got to
I'm
come.
hoping.
It honestly, and I'm not BSing you at all. The one that's down here in Hialeah it's honestly better than a lot of times what I can watch on TV. The shows are. I'm actually going to the show Friday night here in Hialeah. That's their main show. It's like their A show, I guess you could say. It's at a brewery, and it's like where they bring in Fuego del Sol, or they bring it. Kylan King is there a lot of times. Wrestle Marina Tucker, who's on. Wow, is the women's champion. The crowd, like huge, huge, like everybody there. It feels like is ready to be a superstar on those Friday night shows.
Nice.
And we need to make it happen for you to come down here
We
in Miami and
do
wrestle. That'd be
CCW
awesome.
if you're watching.
Yes. Oh,
CCW.
yeah. Come on, come on. We got to make it happen. No, that legit. Like, I'm not BSing you. That would be like definitely like awesome to see on the shows. They're 5-star shows. We leave every time. We're like, this is better than what I watch on TV half the time.
I love that. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Now, I know I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I want to ask you because I feel like that first wrestling memory is always so important. Mine, again, I'm going to date myself here, is Hulk Hogan defeating the Iron Sheik. Okay, for
Wow.
yes, yes, for the world title, and automatically I became a Hulkamaniac at that point. Do you remember like that first wrestling memory that just, if you thought of it, like just brings a smile to your face?
I mean, I love WrestleMania, I think 29 or 28, the one where John Cena won. Because the first time I watched, so the very first time I watched wrestling was actually in my brother's room because I was like, "What are you watching?" And he's like, "I don't know. I saw Dad watching it." So I went in and then I just sat there and watched it. It was SmackDown, and we didn't know that there was any other shows. Like we thought it was just Fridays. So we started watching every Friday, and I just remember like Cody Rhodes with the plastic bags, putting him on everybody, and he had like the clear like mask for his nose. I remember that a lot. And then I also just remember like I really became like a super fan when Total Divas started because I felt like I was so cool because I knew exactly what was going on like with these girls. And then I realized like it's so far behind. Like Total Divas is like filmed 6 months ago. I was like, didn't that show happen a while ago? But the very first like thing I watched was WrestleMania, I believe 28, when The Rock beat John Cena. In that point, I didn't have any of my favorite wrestlers because I just loved who my brother loved, and my brother loved Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. So I kind of just like vibed with that until I eventually became like a huge John Cena fan. And like I just remember when John Cena beat The Rock, it was Miami, but I think it was 29. Was it 29?
I can't
WrestleMania
remember. I
29?
know it was down here. I didn't get to go to that show. I think I was actually working that day and I didn't go to the show. But I know it was down here and actually like about 3 miles from where I live at. Actually, it was at the stadium.
Dang.
Yeah. I've only been to one WrestleMania. It was the one in Orlando when the Ric Flair's first retirement match against Shawn Michaels.
Oh shoot, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's been my only WrestleMania.
Aw, yeah, that was like this past one was my first one, and it was just super cool to see. I think it would have been a totally different feeling too, like if I was still like if this was a few years ago and I was still like a mega fan. Like I just love wrestling in such a different way now. Like I want to learn and I want to be a sponge and I want to like absorb everything I can, but I want to make it there. And I feel like it's a very different mindset of somebody who's just like loving looking up to these people. So like I feel like but I still had the most fun. Like I was like I feel like such a fan again. Like it was a really good feeling.
Now you mentioned Total Divas. Could you ever see yourself on a reality show like that?
I always thought that that would be the coolest thing ever. I got like the world heavyweight like toy belt, and I would literally like put my swimsuit on because I loved AJ Lee. I'd put my swimsuit on, like skip around my house with like the belt on. And I was like wished that she was on Total Divas. But like I would watch Total Divas and just like be holding my championship, and I was like, I want to do that one day. So reality TV shows would be so much fun. I saw that AEW was doing the all access thing, and I was like, hey, maybe in a couple years, if I get signed to AEW, that would be the coolest thing to be a part of. But yeah.
Yeah, I did watch because we're recording this on a Wednesday night, and AEW is about to come on in about 20 minutes right now. And actually, I watched the first episode of all of AEW Access, and I thought it was really well done. Like, I really like the behind the scenes wasn't. It was really a little in depth into like the characters, like with Britt Baker and Adam Cole going to the hospital and getting checked on to see if he could come back and wrestle, and with Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, like talking about like how their relationship real life has like turned them into like being booed now. And I thought it was like a really good insight into like the wrestlers a little bit behind the curtain, but not too much behind the curtain as well too, because I still think you got to
Yeah.
keep some stuff, behind the curtain as well.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to watch it whenever I get a chance. I'm like, I'm still looking forward to it.
Just something else for you to put on your list of things to do.
Things to watch.
Right now, speaking of list, like Chris Jericho, I think is one of those people that has documented every single match he's ever wrestled and how many. Have you tried to keep track of how many matches you've wrestled, or is it after like so many you just forgot?
I had a list going in my notes, but ever since I came back I think I could go back honestly and figure it out because I had a list going. But I think right when I came back from injury, I'm starting to wrestle every single weekend now. I really can't keep track, but I was thinking about this a couple days ago. I was like, I should start keeping track of like how many matches I've had again because I think it would be really cool to be like, oh, this is the 50th match I've had. Oh, this is the 100th match I had. Like, and just like see my growth from the first to the 50th and the first to the 100th. Because I love like transformations. I love growth. I love seeing like growth over time. And that's like one of my favorite things about, I feel like wrestling and even weightlifting too. It's like you could see the transformation that you go through. So that's something that I definitely want to do. So I need to bring my list back.
What do you think is the thing that you've improved in most in your wrestling career?
Definitely confidence. When I first went out there the first time, I was like, I'm a little girl. I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, why are people watching me? I was super, and I feel like I still struggle a little bit with confidence and like in my in-ring abilities and stuff. But it's gotten so much better to the point where like I'm way more confident in the way I look, how I act, and how I present myself because of like I have learned so much in these past 3-4 months of like 2023. Like transformation between the beginning of 2023 literally to now, and we're in April. I have wrestled so many matches, met so many stars that had given me incredible just like things, and I'm getting so many more reps in than I did before I was injured, because I was only wrestling like a couple times every few months. So like I was barely wrestling on shows, and like I feel like just getting enough matches under your belt, you start to like understand things a lot better. So that's been really huge for me.
Now, this is a two-part question, but the answer might be the same for both parts. Who would you say you've had the most matches against, and who do you think you have the most chemistry with?
I've definitely had the most matches with SOS. We've had a lot of lucha matches, and we have another one coming up in a couple weeks at RMW Lucha in California. If you're nearby, come check us out. I've definitely had a lot of matches with her, and she's been a part of like a lot of like four ways or like three ways. But I have a lot of good chemistry with her, but I honestly love my chemistry with like Alex Gracia. I felt like her and I had a really good match. And even just with like Mia Friday, like I've only wrestled her once, but like we were literally friends since like we were little, because we both had those Instagram fan pages that I bring up yet again. But no, like we had really good chemistry. I would love to wrestle Viva Van again. I really want to wrestle Johnny Robbie, because she was in a 6-man match. It was my first match back. She was in the 6-man match with me, but I didn't really get to like end up doing anything with her. So I would love to wrestle Johnny Robbie. And yeah, there's so many girls that I want to wrestle with, and like I look forward to like seeing how we work. So
Well, now you've been talking about vibes a lot, like good vibes. Like I feel like we need to like, or not we, because I'm not, this is yours thing, but I think maybe some t-shirts. I think we need good vibes, like, or something like that, right? Brittany
oh, that would
Brooks,
be cool.
vibing with Brittany
Yes.
Brooks, or I don't know. I think we need something like that.
I like that. That's actually really cool, the vibe. And
Right.
like my favorite flavor of Celsius is peach vibe. And I also love tropical vibe. So like all the just vibes, just always vibes. When I was little too, I always loved the shirts that had like the palm trees that said good vibes on them.
Okay. So we're keeping those good
So
vibes. Yeah.
yes.
I like it because it's like life is too short. There's too many crazy stuff outside the world. People come to professional wrestling and they just want good vibes. And Brittany Brooks is giving those good vibes. I like it. Now, I'm going
I
to be
love
very
that.
respectful of your time because I know you have other important stuff to do. So, is there anything else we need to touch on? What you got going on here in the future?
Ooh, so I'm kind of going everywhere. So this weekend I will be in Borger, Texas. I know this podcast might get posted next weekend, but
No,
if
it'll be up this
next weekend,
weekend. It'll be up by Friday.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, awesome.
but
So
people
yeah,
might see
this
it too.
Saturday.
Right.
Okay, perfect. I'm in Borger, Texas for Motivate Pro Wrestling. And then in next weekend, it's getting a little crazy because I'm in Vegas for FSW. And then I am in the next day I'm in Utah for dive wrestling, and then the next day I'm in California for VWE. So a lot of lost sleep is gonna go down next weekend, but it's okay. And then the weekend after that, I'm doing our RMW Lucha show against SOS. And then the next day I have AWF. So my Arizona people should pull up. And then the next weekend I'm taking a break off of wrestling, which like never happens, but it's my prom and it's my senior prom. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should go to prom. Like
You
I
only
got
get
hired to turn
one.
down shows. I know. And I went last year and it was fun. But I'm like also just I love wrestling and I know I'm gonna be upset while at prom. I'm gonna be like, I should be at a show right now. So I'm still debating. So I might just end up on a show, but you could follow me on Instagram to keep updated.
Can I ask you like what the people? Well, mention your Instagram right now because that's your plug right there.
So my Instagram is the Brittnie Brooks, Facebook is Brittnie Brooks, and Twitter is Brittnie Brooks.
And merch.
Merch, I sell it all in person, but then I also have a storefront here, which is like an incredible website. You order it all through there. It gets shipped to you from them. I'm not in control of how long it takes because I actually ordered my own hoodies and it's taken a bit to get here. So just be prepared for that. But I'm hoping to start selling 8x10 soon, but I do need to open a PO box because a lot of people have been hitting me up like, hey, where can I buy your 8x10s? And I'm like, at my shows, but then I'm also not wrestling like all over the country yet. So
The PO box, yeah, you got to have the PO box. Never from your home address ever. Definitely
oh,
the PO box. Definitely the PO box. Great strategy there. Now I have to ask you because, like, I mean, I've literally watched wrestling. I always tell people from like the day that my dad brought me home from the hospital. Like, I feel like we just came home and he put me on the couch and I started watching wrestling. Like it's like what does I don't know like how to say it, but like your wrestling journey, from when you were like a little kid seeing this to now, like what do you think like your little self would say to you right now?
I would think that I was the coolest thing ever because I just loved women's wrestling and I just loved watching that women were starting to get all these opportunities. And I think I would just be so cool. I still freak out on the fact that I have merch. Like, that was always the coolest thing to me because I bought so many WWE shirts. Like, I had stacks and piles, and the goal is to get an action figure one day. Like, that is like the biggest thing. I had a whole collection, like a literal bag, like full, I mean, maybe 100 action figures. So like getting an action figure one day would probably be make my little self go crazy. But no, I think I would just be so happy, but also just be like, girl, make it to WWE or AEW, like get there. I think I would be like super like motivating towards myself, being like, girl, you better get that done. You better get up to that level. You better get better at wrestling, get better at, talking, get better at all the things, and just become a superstar and a mega star.
A megastar, not even a superstar. Let's go right. I love the fact that you're not just shooting for just being signed. You want to be a megastar, and I love that. I feel like
Hmm.
that's the mindset you have to have because so many people are like, yeah, I just I would love to get signed one day. No, 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 no. Brittnie Brooks wants to be a megastar, and I like that. Shoot for the stars. I absolutely love that. Now, I do want to ask you one more question before we let you go because I am going to be uh, conscious of our time frame that we set earlier. So when I was in school, like again, I had like one friend that was like the wrestling, the buddy, right? You're in high school, you are a wrestler. I mean, 18, you are a wrestler. Like, do people ever give you a hard time about it? Like, oh, you don't really get hurt, you don't really get injured, or what do your classmates in general think about your
They
wrestling
think
career?
it's really cool. So I go to a really small school. Like, my graduating class is going to be 90 kids. So we all know each other, like on an insanely personal level. And they just think it's the coolest thing because they all follow, well, a lot of them follow my Instagram, and a lot of them like one time I did an interview for the announcements, and that's like when people really found out about it. But like I said, our school's really small, so nobody's really like bullied or bullying other people, so that's really nice. But like, because as a kid, like when I was in regular like elementary school and middle school, because I go to like a private high school, but when I was in those, they would always be like, why are you wearing those shirts? Like, because I was a wrestling fan and I never like had anybody who even watched wrestling or knew what it was. So like being like a wrestler now, everybody thinks it's the coolest and they're all just so supportive. Like, they buy my merch, they come to my shows, they repost my stuff on their stories. Like, I've had people being like, oh, like I know Elliot from this. And I'm like, dude, like I go to school with Elliot. Like, that's so cool. Shout out to Elliot. But no, he was the very first person actually to buy my shirt. When I first got a shirt, Elliot, shout out to you because you got my first shirt. But no, yeah, it's just everybody's so nice and supportive. And when I was on Dark, I came to school the next day and I told my teacher, because a couple of my teachers know of wrestling and they watched it as a kid. And I was like, do you know what AEW is? And I was like, Chris Jericho's on it because they haven't watched it in a long time. And he put it on, and their whole class watched my Dark match. I'm like, guys, don't watch it. I get kicked in the back really hard. It's just, I was like, I fall out of the ring at some point. I lose the match, but it's really funny because I've been on a losing streak as of lately, and so like everybody keeps commenting like, you need to win, and I like go to school on the Monday. They're like, did you win this weekend? And I was like, no, I still lost. And so like they're always like, you need to win. You need to beat them up more. And I was like, no.
But it's part of the, like, if they're that invested, that means it's good. So like when you do turn this losing streak around, because you will, and you elevate yourself up to megastar status, then they're gonna be like, I remember when she was on that losing streak. Now I know her as a megastar right now.
Yes, I love that.
Oh, well, Brittnie, it's been awesome. And I know you're super busy, so I am gonna let you go. Unless there's anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this up.
No, I'm good. Follow my Instagram, follow my TikTok. I'm super active on Instagram. Like that is my home. I be always on there.
You're very active on Instagram. Well, definitely keep up the great work. I'm so glad we made this chat happen. And I'm hoping CCW, they're gonna figure out that they need to have Brittnie Brooks down here in Florida at a show.
You
Really.
do.
Yeah. So Brittnie, nothing but the best. And I can't wait to see, where the journey, takes you. And, we'll do a follow-up in sometime down the road and see,
Yes.
follow those steps up to megastar status.
I would be so down. And thank you so much for having me and giving the platform. It literally means the world to me.
Definitely. So guys, if you like interviews like this with Brittnie Brooks, make sure you stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.